The Story of the Little Lantern, an exposition of the following book. Once upon a time, in a quiet village at the edge of a great forest, there was a boy named Peter. Peter was curious about everything. He loved to ask questions like, why is the sky blue? Where does the wind go when it stops blowing? But Peter's favourite question of all was, what is the truth? One day, Peter's grandfather gave him something very special, a little lantern. It was small, made of golden metal, and inside was the tiniest, brightest flame Peter had ever seen. "This is the lantern of truth," said grandfather with a kind smile. "It will help you find your way, but only if you trust it." Peter's eyes grew wide. "Find my way to where?" "To the greatest treasure there is," grandfather said. Peter's heart jumped with excitement. He decided right there and then to follow the lantern of truth to wherever it led him. The next morning, Peter packed some bread, an apple, and a bottle of water. He held the lantern carefully and stepped out of his house. The little flame inside the lantern flickered softly, as if whispering, "Follow me." Peter walked to the edge of the village where the great forest began. It was a dark and tangled place, full of shadows and strange sounds. Some people said it was too dangerous to enter, but Peter held up his lantern, and the flame glowed brighter. "Do I trust the lantern?" Peter asked himself. "Yes, I do." So he took a deep breath and stepped into the forest. The forest was darker than Peter imagined. Sometimes he heard whispers from the trees. "Turn back, little boy," a threatening voice muttered. "You're lost already." Peter felt scared. He could barely see where he was going, but whenever he looked at the lantern, the flame glowed steady and warm. "This little flame knows the way," Peter said bravely. "I will keep going." Suddenly, Peter tripped over a root and fell to the ground. His apple rolled away and he scraped his knee and he dropped the lantern. Tears filled his eyes. "Maybe I should turn back," he sniffed. But when he sat up, he noticed something amazing. The lantern's light seemed to be stronger now, shining even brighter on the path ahead. Peter wiped his tears and smiled. "The flame is still with me, even though this forest is dark and scary. The lantern of truth is still lighting my way." So Peter picked himself up and kept walking with the lantern. After walking for what felt like forever, Peter reached a wide, rushing river. The water was deep, and there was no bridge. "How will I cross?" Peter wondered. Just then, he saw a man on the other side waving his arms. "Hello there!" the man shouted. "Why don't you just walk across? There's no water there, it's only an illusion." Peter looked at the river and frowned. It sure looked real. The lantern's flame flickered a little, like it was trying to say something. "Are you sure it's not real?" Peter shouted back. "Of course I'm sure," the man said, laughing. "Why trust that silly lantern when you can trust me?" Peter felt unsure. Should he believe the man or the lantern? He took a deep breath and stared at the little flame. "I trust in the truth," Peter said to himself softly. Slowly, Peter knelt down by the river and dipped his fingers into the water. It was cold and wet. "The river is real!" he cried. But when he looked up, the man on the other side was gone, disappeared like a puff of smoke. Peter was happy that he had trusted the flame. "The truth helped me see through the lies," he said. "I'll have to find a different way to get across." He followed the riverbank until he found some big stones sticking out of the water. Carefully, one step at a time, Peter crossed the river, holding the lantern high. Soon, Peter came to a crossroads. One path led to a beautiful sunny meadow, and the other path was dark and rocky, heading up a mountain. A group of people stood in the meadow, laughing and playing. "Come join us, they called. This is the best place. There's no need to climb that hard mountain. Peter looked at the sunny meadow. It did look nice. He almost walked towards it, but then he noticed something strange. The lantern's flame dimmed a little, as if it was unsure. Peter frowned, looked at the mountain, and then back at the lantern. "The flame is telling me to take the other path," he said. The people in the meadow laughed. "Why would you choose the hard path? It's dark and steep." Peter looked back to the lantern and whispered, "Should I climb this mountain?" The flame glowed brighter than ever before. Peter took a deep breath, then turning towards the mountain said, "I'm going this way." The people in the meadow just shook their heads and cried, "Suit yourself, fool!" Peter walked away, and the voices of the people faded into the distance. Climbing the mountain was even tougher than Peter expected. It was steep, and sharp rocks poked his feet. His legs ached, and the wind howled around him. But every time Peter felt like stopping, he looked at the lantern, and the little flame seemed to cheer him on. "I trust you," Peter whispered to the flame. "I trust you." Every step became a blur until, at last, he reached the top of the mountain. As he reached the mountain peak, the wind stopped blowing and everything fell silent. There Peter saw the most amazing thing he had ever seen. A giant door stood in front of him. It was tall and beautiful, glowing with a pure golden light. The light reminded him of the little flame, so Peter held up the lantern. As he lifted the flame, it grew so bright that it lit up the entire mountaintop. Then, to his surprise, the flame floated out of the lantern and into the door, where it disappeared. Suddenly, Peter felt alone and afraid. "Where are you going, little flame?" he cried. Then the door began to open, and a pure golden light poured out. The golden light filled Peter with such great feelings of love and peace that he confidently rushed inside. The moment he crossed the threshold, he felt overwhelmed by joy because he instantly received the answer to every question he had ever asked, all at once. His mind went blank as every question he could think of was already answered. Peter was so overcome with joy at such complete knowledge that he couldn't even speak. Collapsing to the floor in bliss, Peter simply lay in the golden light, soaking in all the indescribable splendor. After a long time had passed, Peter began to think again. The truth is not just a little guiding flame. It's everything good. It's alive, and it's full of love, he realized. Then a kind and gentle voice spoke from within the light. The truth will always help those who seek it. The truth is a light for the lost, a shield for the weak, and a home for the humble. Peter looked around, and seeing how beautiful this place was, he asked the voice, "Why do people stop seeking the truth when this is where it leads?" And the voice replied, "Because the truth is not easy to follow. It asks us to climb mountains, face fears, and leave behind comfortable places. But for those who will follow, it leads to a life that is full and joyful." Peter felt his heart swell. "I wish everyone could know this truth." The voice said, "They can if they wish, so you must go back now and share what you have found." Peter nodded. "I will." So Peter turned away from the golden light and stepped back through the door. As he did, the little flame of truth returned to the lantern, glowing brighter than ever before. Peter looked at it and smiled. "You really will always be with me, won't you?" The climb down the mountain was hard too, sometimes even harder than climbing up. But now Peter had greater strength and joy to face the journey, because his faith in the truth had been strengthened. Back in the village, Peter's grandfather smiled when he saw him coming home. Seeing his grandfather waiting patiently, Peter rushed excitedly towards him, his eyes bright with joy. "Did you find the treasure?" Grandfather asked, embracing Peter in a much-needed hug. Peter nodded. "Yes, I discovered that the truth loves me even more than I love the truth." Grandfather gave Peter a squeeze. "That is the greatest treasure of all." From that day on, Peter shared his story with everyone who would listen. He told them about the little lantern, the river, the mountain, and the door. Some listened and wanted to follow the truth too. Others said, "Why bother?" and stayed where they were. But Peter knew the truth would always be there for anyone who chose to seek it. And the little lantern glowed brighter and brighter, lighting the way for all who were willing to follow. The end.